It's a warm reception to our studio here in Serekunda. This is Star TV News with me, Dado Cham. In the headlines tonight, UK Human Rights Ambassador hails Gambia's successful democratic transition. Insurance Association debunks a transport union claims. Tiber Charity presents cash to 75 orphans. 13 Nigerian cybercrime suspects charged. Gambia Football Federation wants Algerian counterparts on verbal attacks launched against Papa Gassama. On the international scene, businesses in China struggle due to COVID restrictions. Indonesia's plan to ban palm oil export fuels a price surge. Ukrainian's baker expresses fears as Russian forces advance. Those were the headlines, and now the news in detail. In a press statement from the Office of the President, the British Ambassador for Human Rights, Written Friends, has praised the Gambia's successful transition to democratic governance since 2017, saying the country is a beacon of a hope for democracy in the sub-region and the world over. Ambassador France was at the State House Wednesday for a courtesy call on President Adama Barrow to discuss the country's human rights situation since her last visit in August 2019. France landed the commitment from the government would ensure the respect for the rights of the people and the promotion of democracy in the Gambia. She also noted the vibrancy of the civil society organizations and parliamentary democracy in the country. The Insurance Association of the Gambia on Thursday held a press briefing at the West Africa Insurance Institute in Kotu. The objective of the briefing was to clarify and condemn claims made by the Gambia Transport Union's President Omar Sise.
In view of the trending smear campaign by the general transport officials against the entire insurance industry, the executive of the Insurance Association of the Gambia, the IAG, deemed it very fitting to hold this press conference today, Thursday, the 28th of April, 2022, in order to safeguard the highly reputable image of our industry. We are all aware that of recent we have unfortunately seen officials of the Gambia General Transport Union on media, social media, print, TV, actually calling the insurance industry names and particularly labeling us as scammers, which is very unfortunate. The Insurance Association of the Gambia condemns in the strongest possible terms the recent derogatory statements made by the President of the General Transport Union, Mr. Omar Sise, and other officials of the GTU, labeling us as scammers. Whilst this statement illustrates utter ignorance of the operation of insurance companies by Mr. Sise and his colleagues, its intent is to misinform and misguide the unsuspecting public on the true purpose of insurance. All insurance companies operating in the Gambia are not only registered and licensed by the Central Bank of the Gambia, who regulates all affairs of insurance companies, but equally, all insurance companies are registered in accordance with the Companies Act of the Gambia.
The Tiber Charity Center on Wednesday extended support to 75 orphans, which are cash prizes, to ease their daily struggles. As Mariam Adam reports, the presentation was done in New Yundum.
No.
The Islamic charitable organization that operates based on the principle of Islam extends help to 75 orphans through their guidance. The spokesperson of Tiber Charities Center, Honorable Suleiman Jame, said the gesture is part of the second phase of their orphans' livelihood program that seeks to assist these vulnerable children.
So this amount, we think that is given to the parent or the guardians, they will definitely put it into good use. Because as we know, orphans are very vulnerable as far as our society is concerned. So for that being the case, this is why Taiba Charity Center and Darul Bir Society in Dubai decided to come up with this great project, wherein to facilitate donors for orphans, individual orphans, so that at least they can have a sponsorship.
The CEO of the center, Haruna Kamara, said the presentation is the result of the organization's aims to support vulnerable families.
Taiba Charity Center kafole matime ya lonko alota Gambia jang puruka makoiro ke mo batari ngolela.
Taiba Charity Center is in the country to help the needy. We don't differentiate people. All we know is to assist those in need. This is why we target 75 orphans today.
Ngadiro ke aliatime 75 aliatimolela.
CEO Kamara asserted that some receive $5,000, $10,000 and $15,000. He said the distribution were done based on the amount sent by the donors to each of the beneficiaries. Taiba Charity Center is an Islamic organization that works with the principle of Islam. The center helps the less privileged within communities through livelihood support in various ways. Maria Madem reporting for Star TV News.
13 Nigerians were recently charged before Magistrate Ibu Sow of Birkama Court in connection with suspected cybercrime and related computer fraud. Jacqueline Colley tells us more.
13 Nigerians were recently arraigned before Magistrate Ibu Sow of the Birkama Court in connection with the suspected cybercrime and related computer extortion, fraud and forgery offences. According to the Standard newspaper, they face several counts: conspiracy to defraud, unlawful possession of devices and data, and computer-related extortion, fraud and forgery. According to the prosecutors, the men alleged have sometime in March 2022 at Olyundum jointly conspired to commit felony whilst in possession of devices and data meant for forgery. The prosecution also alleged that the men, without lawful excuse, had in their possession 19 mobile phones and 18 laptops of various brands with intention to use them for the communication of an offense. Prosecutors further alleged that the 13 were found in possession of 12 Nigerian passports, 19 mobile phones and 18 laptops for the purpose of making or producing fake data. When the case was first mentioned on the 14th of April 2022, the accused persons refused to take their plea on grounds that their legal counsel, Edward Cummins, was absent, and the matter was adjourned to the 19th of April for mention and plea taking. However, on the said date, lawyer Edward Cummins appeared in the court and the accused persons took their plea, denying the charges leveled against them. The prosecution, comprising ASP Bitei, Corporal 4946 Bangura and 1748 AY Bojang, raised objection to granting the accused persons bail on the basis that the accused persons may tamper with the investigation which is ongoing, and also because the Gambia Immigration Department is investigating them as to whether they entered the country legally. In his ruling, Presiding Magistrate Ibu Sow disclosed that the objection raised by the prosecutors has merit even though the charge is bailable. He was remanding them at the Mile 2 Central Prisons. Hearing continues on the 10th to 8th of April 2022 for the prosecution to open its case. Jacqueline Colley for Star TV News.
The Gambia Football Federation said on Wednesday it has been following with grave concern the sustained verbal attacks launched against the person of FIFA Gambian referee Bakary Baba Gassama by Algerian national since he officiated Algeria's 2-1 home defeat to Cameroon in the Qatar 2022 FIFA World Cup qualifiers played on the 29th March 2022. More in this report.
The Gambia Football Federation said on Wednesday it has been following with grave concern the sustained verbal attacks launched against the person of FIFA Gambian referee Papa Bakary Gassama by Algerian nationals since he officiated Algeria's 2-1 home defeat to Cameroon in the Qatar 2022 FIFA World Cup qualifiers played on the 29th of March 2022. In a statement, GFF said, the Federation has lodged a formal complaint to the Algerian Football Federation on the matter and has formally requested FIFA and CAF to open investigations and disciplinary proceedings against the head coach of the Algerian national football team, Mr. Jamel Belmadi, for his remarks on a video clip and on Algerian television. GFF therefore urged the Algerian Federation to make a public statement condemning the actions of Mr. Belmadi and all the verbal attacks against Mr. Gassama by Algerians, and take all necessary precautions to restrain their officials and nationals from making any further negative remarks and threats against the person of Mr. Gassama. Otherwise, their federation will be held responsible and complicit for any harm which may happen to him. However, GFF assured that they are in constant contact with Papa and that all security precautions are in place to keep him away from harm's way when he returns home for an overseas assignment. Jacqueline Coley for Star TV News.
Those were the local stories. We will be back with the international news after the short break.
Life's journey is not always as smooth as we want it to be. Unforeseen tragedies such as accidents and disasters can and do happen. Paying out of your own pocket for costly damages can be a huge financial struggle and a setback for you and your businesses. Worry no more. Takaful Gambia Limited, the first Islamic and among leading insurance companies in the Gambia, will cover the cost of your claims and put you back to the position you were before the loss. Takaful Gambia Limited is currently sharing over $7 million to its esteemed customers for the year ended 2019-2020 among its customers who have not made claims at the end of the year. Takaful Gambia Limited, caring and sharing.
In a country always thirsty for more, a team of superheroes with special powers unite to redefine the way we are connected. Big Barbaram Pegas steps up your communication with the DOK service, giving you 1,000 minutes of talk time to one special person for $150 is only. Valid for 1 month. Enjoy your talk time. Type SUB and send by SMS to 135 to activate the TOK service. AfriCell got office with the power to change the world. AfriCell is setting trends once again. I'm sure you still love WhatsApp, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat, and Viber. Your favorite GSM operator AfriCell knows this. That's why you can now enjoy more at the same price. Activate the social media bundle and be online for 24 hours for $10 is only.
Hello! Activate the social media bundle for $10 is only and receive 40 megabytes.
Where AfriCell goes, nobody dares to follow.
Welcome back after that commercial break. If you're just tuning in, this is Star TV News from our studio here in Sarakunda. And now the news in the international scene. It has been a month since China's most populated city went into lockdown because of a COVID restriction outbreak. There has been widespread unrest among residents who have complained about food shortages and tough restrictions. Businesses too are struggling because of the freeze in productions. Al Jazeera's Katiri in New York reports.
This factory on the outskirts of Shanghai normally produces around 300,000 bicycles every month. It counts US department store Walmart among its many international clients. But because of a strict coronavirus lockdown, it's been forced to close for 4 weeks. Confined to his home, manager Lei Ge worries about his 2,000 workers and his bottom line.
To be honest, it's very difficult for them. I would like to pay a little bit more, but you know, the loss for the company is also big. I don't know how am I going to survive after this, but I will try to survive after this.
A Authorities in Shanghai say a new round of testing will decide whether neighborhoods can begin opening up. Most of the city's 25 million residents remain locked down. It sparked anger and protest in the commercial center. Here, people are heard banging pots and pans from their apartment windows. One woman screams, "Give me back my freedom." Still, Chinese leaders insist on maintaining a zero COVID-19 policy.
They are trying to contain the public discontent, but we are still working with a Leninist system, which means that it is the target that has been set by the top leadership, which is of paramount importance for cadres responsible for any of those specific policies. Public discontent comes much lower in the list of priorities for them to meet.
There have been complaints of food shortages, the separation of families, and the killing of pets by health workers. But analysts say any political blame is likely to fall on low-level officials, not President Xi Jinping or top Beijing ministers. In the capital, authorities are doing all they can to prevent a citywide lockdown. People have stocked up on supplies, bracing for the results of 3 rounds of mass testing conducted this week. More than 100 infections have been recorded, resulting in the closure of some schools, entertainment venues, and tourist sites. Dozens of neighborhoods have been barricaded. The heavy-handed measures resemble those imposed during the early days of the pandemic. More than 2 years on, many are questioning whether the cure is worse than the disease itself. Katrina Yu, Al Jazeera, Beijing.
Indonesia is the world's top producer of palm oil. Its prices has reached record highs recently due to the impact of the war in Ukraine is having on export. The government is planning on banning export to secure domestic supplies of the cooking oil. Al Jazeera's Jessica Washington reports.
In Jakarta's south, some of the country's most popular dishes can be found in this small kitchen. Fried chicken, fried fish and fried tofu. Almost everything on the menu has one ingredient in common: palm oil. Endang Setianingsi opened this restaurant 30 years ago, but now she's worried she could lose customers.
The unstable price of cooking oil affects my business. When it was scarce, it was difficult. Now it's available but expensive. It's so challenging for small businesses.
Palm oil is the world's most widely used edible oil. For months, concerns about price and availability have been growing in Indonesia, despite the country being the top producer. Now the government is banning palm oil exports, including crude and refined palm oil.
I understand the state needs taxes along with foreign exchange, and the country needs a trade balance surplus. But meeting the people's primary needs is more important. It's a priority.
The move has shocked global markets.
The price of cooking oil has been rising around the world for a number of reasons: disruptions in production, increasing demand for biofuels, and the war in Ukraine, the world's largest exporter of sunflower oil. Experts say the latest move by the Indonesian government is likely to push prices even higher.
Palm oil is also used in processed foods, cosmetics, cleaning products and more. Economists say the government's strategies to normalize cooking oil prices have been misguided, focusing on supply rather than problems within the industry.
It may not solve the problem because, again, the problem with the cooking oil in the Indonesian market right now is actually in the distribution channel. There's a bottleneck, because of this complex and long, distribution channel.
The Indonesian Farmers Association says its members will also suffer.
This time period should give momentum to the government to reform the palm oil industry and its production model. Right now it's run by big companies and they set the distribution of palm oil material according to the market.
The government intends the ban to remain until prices reach around 97 cents per litre at traditional markets in Indonesia. But it's unclear whether this policy will achieve that. Jessica Washington, Al Jazeera, Jakarta.
On the front line in Ukraine is Russian forces continue their slow advance. Thousands of Ukrainians have fled as the fighting gets closer. Those who remain live in fear and anticipation. Al Jazeera's Charles Stafford reports from western Ukraine.
Natalia has worked at this bread factory in the town of Bakhmut in eastern Ukraine for 13 years. Russian forces are slowly getting closer. They are first firing artillery shells and rockets, then moving in on nearby villages. The closer they get, the more tempted the mother of two is to leave.
I'm very worried for myself, for my family, for the children, for my job. It's frightening going to and from work because I hear the explosions in the distance. I love my job and have many friends. I don't want to leave them.
The bread factory is the largest and oldest business in town, employing around 200 people. They supply bread to many surrounding villages, but the amount of customers is shrinking as they flee the slow Russian army advance. Volunteer delivery driver Andrei is a brave man. After loading up his van with freshly baked loaves, he heads out of town towards the front line. We follow him along isolated and empty country roads to a village near the Russian army-controlled town of Gorlivka. The village shopkeeper and few people still living here have been waiting for his delivery for 3 days.
Over there, closer to Toretsk, the whole field has been shelled so heavily, it looks like they were digging it. Go have a look. But it's so loud there, and there's still people living there. I don't feel particularly afraid. People need bread. They have to eat. If they shell me, so be it. This is war.
The village sits in between the advancing Russian army and Ukrainian military defense dug in across the fields. The trains stopped coming here in 2014 when pro-Russian separatists seized control of the next city down the tracks.
It's terrifying. There are explosions constantly. Getting food to us is dangerous and there's never enough. We feel surrounded because they shoot from this side and that side. All of those who are left here are old. There are no medicines available, no buses, no transport here.
We drive to Toretsk, swerving between piles of soil heaped on the road to try and slow down any Russian army advance. In a nearby village, we find homes destroyed. The Ukrainian army tell us that this village has been hit by Russian artillery a number of times in the last week. They say at least one civilian has been killed in these strikes. The most recent strike was this morning, a number of civilians injured. The soldiers here tell us that the Russian positions are around 7 kilometers from here. Ukrainian soldiers say Russian forces are trying to destroy a radio antenna, but so far have only succeeded in destroying lives. Charles Stratford, Al Jazeera, Eastern Ukraine.
And before we end the news, a recap of our main headlines. UK Human Rights Ambassador hails Gambia's successful democratic transition. Insurance Association debunks a transport union claims. Taiba Charity presents cash to 75 orphans. 13 Nigerian cybercrime suspects charged. Gambia Football Federation wants Algerian counterparts on verbal attacks launched against Papa Gassama. On the international scene, businesses in China struggle due to COVID restrictions. Indonesia's plan to ban palm oil export fuels a price surge. Ukrainian's baker expresses fears as Russian forces advance. That's all for this edition of the news. Thank you for watching and join us for tomorrow's news. Keep watching.
Thank you very much. So tonight on this show, I will be speaking to top Imam,
Baba Mukhtar Lee. He will be my guest for tonight. Top Imam, scholar, cleric. He will be my guest today. We'll be discussing everything Ramadan, but also I'll ask him his view regarding some of the issues that are happening in the country. Imam, thank you for joining me on my show tonight.
Well, thank you for flattering me as one of the top.
You are very well.
Thank you for flattering me.
You are very much respected in the country.
Well,
and then you are someone that a lot of Muslims really look up to when it comes to the Deen. Yeah, Imam, let's begin. We are in Ramadan. The last 10 days is upon us, and very soon, this year's Ramadan will come to an end. I will be the layman here, and I will ask you questions really that citizens would maybe want to have interest in regarding this month. Let's begin first of all with the issue of Ramadan itself. What is Ramadan?
Well, Ramadan by name, it means something burning all sins. Ramadan is a month that clear and clean human soul and clean human beings. So that's why it's called Ramadan. In Arabic, it's a clear and it cleans everybody.
So the issue of its compulsory outlook, it's something that is compulsory that every Muslim has to observe. Why did God make it compulsory?
Let me qualify that. It's compulsory to those who can